The smoke still hung in the air 3 days after the fire. Nadur walked through what remained of her village with her rifle across her back and ash beneath her feet. The lodges were charred skeletons. The medicine poles had toppled. The earth was scorched black where children had played only a week before. She moved through the ruin like a ghost, her moccasins silent, her face unreadable. She had been hunting alone in the canyon when the soldiers came. She'd heard the gunfire from miles away, a distant crackle like winter branches snapping. By the time she returned, there was nothing left but smoke and silence. No bodies, no survivors, just empty land and the stench of burnt hide. Nadur knelt beside the remains of her grandmother's lodge. The old woman had been too weak to travel. Nadur knew she was gone. She touched the blackened earth and whispered a prayer her grandmother had taught her when she was small. Then she saw them, footprints, boot prints, not moccasins, heavy, deliberate, leading away from the village in a direction the soldiers hadn't ridden. She studied them carefully, her jaw tightening. These prints didn't belong to a cavalryman. They were older, deeper, like someone had stood still for a long time before walking away. She followed them. The trail led north through the scrub and over the ridge, winding down toward the flatlands where the white settlers had begun to carve out their ranches. Nadur had avoided that land for years. Her people had warned her white men brought only sorrow. But the prince didn't lie. Someone had been at her village. Someone had watched it burn, and then they'd walked away. By sunset she reached the edge of a small ranch. A cabin sat alone against the horizon, smoke curling from its chimney. A single horse grazed near a weathered fence. The land was quiet, unremarkable, but the footprints led straight to the door. Nadur crouched behind a boulder and watched. She waited until the light inside the cabin dimmed. Then she moved closer, her hand resting on the knife at her belt. The door was unlocked. She stepped inside, silent as wind. A man sat at the table, his back to her. He didn't turn. "I've been expecting you," he said quietly. Nadur's knife was in her hand before he finished speaking. "Don't move," she said in rough English, her voice low and sharp. The man raised his hands slowly, still facing away. "I won't." She circled him, keeping the blade level with his throat. He was older than she expected, gray at the temples, lines carved deep around his eyes. His face was weathered, tired. He didn't look like a soldier. He didn't look like a killer. But the boots by the door matched the prints. "You were there," she said. He nodded once. "I was." "Why?" He hesitated. "I heard the gunfire. I went to see if anyone needed help." "You're lying." "I'm not." His voice was steady, but there was something beneath it, regret, maybe, or shame. "By the time I got there it was over. The soldiers were gone. Everything was burning. There was nothing I could do." "You did nothing," she said coldly. "You walked away." "I did." He finally turned to face her, his hands still raised. His eyes met hers without flinching. "Because I knew if they found me there they'd think I was with you, and they'd hang me for it." Nadur's grip tightened on the knife. "So you saved yourself?" "Yes." The silence between them was heavy. She wanted to hate him. She wanted to drive the blade into his chest and leave him bleeding on the floor. But something stopped her. The way he looked at her, like he knew exactly what she was thinking, and didn't blame her for it. "Why did you come back here?" she asked. "This is my home." "You have no right to a home." "Maybe not." He lowered his hands slowly, watching her. "But I didn't burn yours. You let it burn." "I did." She stepped closer, the knife trembling now. "Give me one reason I shouldn't kill you." He didn't answer right away. Then quietly, "Because you want to know what I saw." Her breath caught. He gestured toward the table. A leather satchel sat there, worn and dusty. "I took something from the village, something the soldiers missed." Nadur's heart pounded. "What?" "Open it." She hesitated, then grabbed the satchel and dumped its contents onto the table. A child's doll, a beaded necklace, a small bundle of sage still fragrant, her grandmother's medicine pouch. Outside, the sound of hoofbeats echoed across the plains. Nadur's head snapped toward the window. The man stood quickly, his expression darkening. "They're early." "Who?" she demanded. "Cavalry patrol. They come through every few days." He moved to the window and peered out, his jaw tight. If they see you here, they'll kill us both. Nadra shoved the medicine pouch into her belt and raised the knife again. Then I'll leave. No, he turned to face her. They've already seen your tracks. If you run now, they'll hunt you down. I've been hunted before. Not like this. His voice was urgent now. They're looking for survivors. They'll shoot on sight. The hoofbeats grew louder. Nadra glanced toward the door, her mind racing. She could run. She was fast. She knew the land better than any white soldier, but he was right. They'd already seen her tracks, and if they found this man helping her, they'd hang him. Not that she cared. Why should I trust you? She said. You shouldn't. He grabbed his coat from the chair. But I'm asking you to anyway. Before she could respond, he opened a trap door in the floor, a narrow crawl space beneath the cabin. Get in. Stay quiet. No matter what you hear. She stared at him, torn between instinct and desperation. The hoofbeats were at the fence now. Go, he said sharply. Nadra dropped into the crawl space, and he shut the door above her. Darkness swallowed her whole. She pressed her ear to the wood and listened. Heavy boots on the porch, a fist pounding the door. Open up, Turner. The door creaked open. Evening, Captain. We're tracking a Comanche woman. Seen anyone pass through? No, sir. Mind if we look around? A pause. Then be my guest. Nadra's hand tightened around her knife. Above her, boots stomped across the floor, inches from her head. A chair scraped. Something clattered. She held her breath, her heart hammering. You sure you haven't seen anyone? The captain's voice was suspicious. Just me and the coyotes, Turner said evenly. Another long silence. Then the boots moved toward the door. If you're lying, Turner, we'll come back, and we won't be as friendly. Understood. The door slammed shut. The hoofbeats faded into the night. Nadra waited in the dark, her pulse pounding in her ears. Then the trap door opened. Turner looked down at her, his face pale. They'll be back, he said quietly. Nadra climbed out of the crawl space, her body tense, her knife still in hand. Turner stepped back, giving her space. He didn't speak, didn't try to explain. He just watched her, waiting. She looked down at the medicine pouch in her belt, then back at him. Why did you take this? She asked. He sat down heavily at the table, rubbing his face. Because I knew what it meant. My wife, she was Kiowa. She had one just like it. Nadra's breath stilled. They took her from me 10 years ago, he continued, his voice rough. Soldiers raided her family's camp, said they were clearing the land. I tried to stop them, got a rifle butt to the skull for my trouble. He touched a scar above his left eye. By the time I woke up, she was gone. I never found her. Nadra's grip on the knife loosened slightly. You married a Kiowa woman. I loved a Kiowa woman, he corrected. Her name was Singing Bird. She taught me your language, showed me how to live on this land without destroying it. He looked at her, his eyes dark with old grief. When I saw your village burning, I thought of her. I couldn't save her, but I thought maybe I could save something. He gestured to the pouch. So I took that. I didn't know if anyone would come looking for it, but I hoped. Nadra stared at him, her mind reeling. She had expected cruelty, cowardice, not this. She sat down across from him, the knife resting on the table between them. My grandmother made this pouch, she said quietly. She told me it would protect me, that as long as I carried it, I would never be truly alone. Her voice cracked, but I wasn't there. I was hunting. I left her. You didn't know, Turner said gently. I should have known. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I should have stayed. If you'd stayed, you'd be dead. Maybe that would be better. No, his voice was firm. Singing Bird used to say that survival is its own kind of bravery, that living when everything is taken from you, that's the hardest fight of all. Nadra looked at him, something shifting in her chest. For the first time since the fire, she didn't feel completely alone. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the shutters. Turner stood. You can stay tonight, rest. In the morning I'll help you disappear. Why? She asked. He met her eyes. Because it's what she would have wanted me to do. Nadra nodded slowly. For the first time in days, she let herself breathe. Morning came cold and clear. Nadra woke to the smell of coffee and cornbread. Turner was already up, packing supplies into a worn saddlebag, dried meat, flour, a canteen, a wool blanket. "You don't have to do this," she said. "I know." He handed her the bag. "But I'm doing it anyway." She hesitated, then took it. "Where will I go?" "North. There's a canyon about 2 days' ride from here, hidden. The cavalry doesn't know about it. You'll be safe there for a while." He pulled a folded map from his coat and handed it to her. "This'll get you there." Nadra studied the map, then looked at him. "What about you? If they find out you helped me, they won't." "You don't know that." "No," he admitted, "but I'd rather take the risk than live knowing I did nothing." Again, she nodded slowly, understanding. This wasn't just about her. It was about Singing Bird, about every life he hadn't been able to save. Turner walked her to the horse. As she mounted, he pulled something from his pocket, a small carved bird, worn smooth by time. "Singing Bird made this for me," he said quietly. "I want you to have it." Nadra shook her head. "I can't." "You can." He pressed it into her hand. "She would have wanted you to have it. Something to remember that you're not alone." Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. She clutched the carving tightly, then leaned down and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered in Comanche. He smiled faintly. "Go, before they come back." Nadra turned the horse north and rode hard, the wind in her hair, the medicine pouch and the carved bird tucked safely against her heart. Behind her, Turner stood in the doorway of his cabin, watching until she disappeared into the hills. He never saw her again, but years later, a young Comanche woman would tell stories around the fire about a white man who had loved a Kiowa woman and who had saved a life when the world was burning. She would say that kindness, even in the smallest moments, could outlive the cruelty that tried to bury it. And she would teach her children that survival was not just about living, it was about remembering. Nadra rode into the canyon. As the sun broke over the ridge, painting the sky golden red, she dismounted, knelt beside a clear stream, and placed the carved bird on a flat stone. Then she whispered a prayer, for her grandmother, for Singing Bird, for Turner, and for herself. The wind carried it away, soft and eternal, into the endless west.